This is a Power 98.7 podcast. Now we're talking. Subscribe to Power 98.7 podcasts in iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. There's more on power987.co.za.
Between now and 8 p.m., of course, it's SME Tuesday, and that is in partnership with MTN. And this evening, we'll be speaking to Tsitsi Morate, the CEO and co-founder of Guardian Health and the winner of the MTN Business App of the year 2020, and that is in the Best Youth App category. I can't wait to speak to Tsitsi and find out how she started and how that journey is going, but we'll also go back to the RH Bophelo results, especially having, listed on the Rwanda market, and we're getting an update on how they are doing on that side of things. New vehicle sales data, there's a jump by 197.8%. That's on a year-on-year basis. 38,337 units sold in the month of May. You guys are buying cars. I'm not, but we'll be speaking to Mike Mabasa about exactly that. Stay tuned.
The latest news heard here at the top and bottom of every hour. Power 98.7 on 103.6 in the south of Johannesburg, 104.4 in the Vaal, and 107.2 in Ekurhuleni. Now we're talking. The day's wrap of top business stories.
Power Business with Tumisang Ndlovu, Monday to Thursday, 6 to 8 p.m. and Fridays, 6 to 7 p.m.
It is that time where we are in partnership as Power 98.7 with MTN, and it's SME Tuesday. This evening, as I indicated, we speak to the CEO and co-founder of Guardian Health, that is Tsitsi Morate. Dumela.
Tumarang, thank you so much for inviting me.
What a pleasure to be speaking to you, and a great time actually to be speaking to you, because 2020 was a tough year for businesses and everyone else as individuals, but you then, as part of the MTN Business App, are the winner of the Best Youth App category. Talk to us about what exactly it is that you do.
Cool. So the Guardian Health platform is a centralized telehealth platform. It's basically a platform that combines all of these different elements that as patients we need in order to satisfy our health needs. Like, it offers you bookings. It allows you a platform where you can find health professionals, you can book, you can have virtual appointments via the platform, you can get digital prescriptions via the platform and be referred to for lab tests via the platform. And currently we are also starting to reach out to organizations such as universities and companies so that they can offer some of these benefits, like your telehealth benefits, for their employees, particularly rural employees. Also for students to be able to get help from home or wherever they are, now that we are also trying to social distance as much as we can.
That becomes quite important, and the element that I pick up on that is becoming extremely critical, and it's one that we are going to discuss even tomorrow right here on Power Business, talking about access to the digital economy. When you speak of the rural element, why is it that you would want to tap into that market, especially because many of us think of it as untapped, but at the same time, there's that balance that within a banking app, within a retail app, the rural community is still participating, but not as much as we would want it to, or relatable to what we as in urban areas do.
So I think you're right. It's quite a market that we've also been very hesitant to get into because of the different challenges, like internet availability and all that. Hence, part of the strategy is really to target more the employers that are in those areas, like your mining companies or companies that are in those sectors, because then they can be able to assist and meet their employees halfway in providing that service. And hopefully that will maybe make it much easier for internet availability to also be in those areas. But that's how we're going to tackle it, from starting with employers, starting with schools, and then we can then move on to maybe individuals.
Individuals become important, and I want to talk about Tsitsi as the individual. Having started this particular business, what is it that pushed you and to take a mammoth task of going into business as opposed to the traditional employment?
Well, I did actually get into traditional employment as well.
You see, I like that.
But what actually happened was last year, before lockdown, I wanted to go to school and do my master's, and I wanted to do it in something health related. Yeah. To be honest, it's something that I've always been passionate about, because even when I did my honors research, I wanted to align it with health as well. So that was some research that I wanted to do around maternal health and fetal abnormalities and stuff. So we started competing with that idea with a friend of mine who I contacted, who's my partner with Guardian Health. And we went to different hackathons and we were competing. And as we were competing, we realized that as much as, we can have these great ideas in terms of data science, but they're not going to be as welcomed as, as easily. If you say to somebody, this can tell you if a pregnant woman has, if there's a fetal abnormality or not. It's such a big idea. And so starting with telehealth was a good way for us to start and get into the market, start talking to relevant people, and then, do other cool stuff. So that's how we started, and we started competing, adding one feature at every competition that we went into. And that's how Guardian Health was born. Yeah.
When you say exciting, I'll tell you from a personal point of view, by the virtue of me being a black female in the continent of Africa, is when you talk about maternal health. We know the issues that lie there and the awareness that is meant to be elevated. And when you say you and your partners want to do cool things, this area is meant to be highlighted as cool. Yes, we are talking about the business elevation of it, but at the core of what you are doing, Tsitsi, it means you are looking after women, children post-birth. And that becomes important in the reproduction system, in that we are putting bodies in the economic cycle of the world. That becomes quite important. How relatable is this as a business selling point?
It is very relatable. I mean, particularly when we actually had this idea and were competing with it, there was actually a lot of stories around women actually dying during childbirth, for instance. So being able to get some sort of indication of how much of a high risk a pregnant woman is became a very important thing. And that's sort of what the motivation was, because throughout Africa, a lot of women struggle during childbirth. There are a lot of complications that happen. So it's something that's very relatable, because we see it all the time in the news that there are a lot of issues, particularly because our public health system is so overloaded and overcrowded. It makes it even harder to give individual almost like attention to everyone, that is like good and stuff. So it's something that I think tech could really help. If we can get like technology that can assist and meet the health professionals halfway, that could go a really long way.
A really long way, but in terms of getting support from the market as well as being well received, what's your assessment so far?
So because that's like something that's still under research, I mean, it's something that even for us to say, look, we are out with that, and we have the the way to be able to detect those abnormalities, we'll need to have a lot of data. So at the moment, I think data acquisition is one of the things that we're still working on. A bit of a struggle because, poppy and all of these other things. But it's an idea that everybody gets excited about, but it requires a lot of research, and it requires a lot of stakeholders to come on board and assist us with that as well. So that's something that we've been working on, getting into various partnerships that can allow us to get all the resources that we need.
Wonderful. Let me just put you on hold. We have to pay our own bills, and we're going to continue this conversation. You have the dream, you have the drive. Now is the time to move forward. Don't miss hashtag SME Tuesday, happening right now on Power Business with myself, Tumisang Ndlovu, where I speak and I'm in conversation currently with Tsitsi Morate, who is the CEO and co-founder of Guardian Health and the winner of the MTN Business App of the year 2020 in the Best Youth App category. She is talking to us about women in tech and how to take advantage of technology to create and grow your business. That's hashtag SME Tuesday right here on Power Business, proudly brought to you by MTN Business. It's go time everywhere you go. Tsitsi, we must continue this conversation. And, as I had to go through that particular live read that highlights the conversation that we are having with you, the digital migration of where businesses are going. And young as you are, it becomes so important that it's a strategic position for your particular app to go in the direction of being digital. How do you migrate everyone else that needs to be aligned with the service offerings that you have? Because not everybody is accessible to the digital world.
That's very true. But at the same time, I feel like maybe we started it at a very weird time as well, because a lot of people are quite open to tech at the moment. Almost if you look at when we started reaching out to people, in the beginning, it was a lot of hesitancy and stuff, even amongst the health professionals that we reached out to. But later on, you could see a more openness to using technology. So I think maybe it's COVID, that made people to realize that, tech could actually go a long way in making, processes much easier. And, people are quite open to learning. Some challenges are really difficult to solve. It's not something that we necessarily have the power to solve, like some people not having the right devices.
Yeah.
That is something that we are not, unfortunately, we are not able to solve that problem. Yeah.
How then do you get the message across in terms of putting yourself out there? Because apart from just the access of digital on one's device and so on, we know that there is a huge participation on the side of social media. And some of us, as young as you and I are, we think social media is the Twitter streets or Instagram. But as I've come to know from my own mother who's 70, she says, le WhatsApp ki social media and we get news.
Yeah. So social media is very powerful. Yes, we do use that. We do use Twitter to try and, tell people about ourselves and what we do. But I think one of the things that I've also realized once I started really going out there to people in health, like the health professionals, was word of mouth is extremely powerful. So networking becomes extremely important, where you want people to kind of speak for you, the health professionals that you've onboarded. You want them to be telling their networks about you, because one thing about health professionals that I've realized and learned is that, sometimes not having a reputation in that industry comes at a disadvantage. So that's been, I think, one of the ways just other people in house being able to use word of mouth as well has worked quite powerfully for us.
Tsitsi, going forward, how do you want to pivot, especially move into the so-called new normal with inclusivity and growing, especially because the type of business that you are in is people-based, it is humanitarian-based, it is health-based?
So one of those things, we've actually been developing and finding. So I think one of the things, though, is when we started, we didn't start Guardian House as a business. So it only started a business later on in the year. And that's after trying to understand the market. That's after talking to a lot of people. And we're still at a learning phase as well, where we keep learning what people are really looking for, understanding what the needs of the different societies and the different communities are. So the direction will be determined by that research. But as I mentioned, we've really started to also look at, companies providing certain benefits to their employees, like providing mental health, benefits for their employees, for universities to also use telehealth and, proper bookings for their students. So that's also where we're going at, where we're saying, look, at scale, I think employers can play a very big role in providing their employees. The numbers in terms of employees that do not get the right mental health support they need on time is quite shocking. And so that's the space that we also want to get into.
Interesting that you mentioned that support on the side of the state, though. Yes, this is a private company, but is there an expectation that there could be a bigger role for the state to play, especially as we are in a global health pandemic and some of these issues we've been facing prior to being in a global pandemic, and therefore they too still need to be highlighted?
Yeah. Definitely. I mean, we have reached out. We have been having the right conversations. Hopefully, these are conversations that could lead to something. But yes, it would be amazing if some of the stuff that we do could be provided to the public in general, because it would make such a huge difference. Being able to add more technology into the public health sector would make a great deal of a difference. Better booking systems, better appointment systems. It would make things more efficient in an already overcrowded system.
Thank you so much, and we wish you all the best, and I really hope that we hear from you in the near future, because the work that you're doing at your age is really going to advance the conversations that we as women have. At times we do not get this information because it's not trickled down from women that have come before us. These things tend to be private, right?
Definitely. I hope so too. I do hope that it can come back, and we hope that people do support the ideas that we have as well.
It is about time. Tsitsi Morate, CEO and co-founder of Guardian Health. She is also the winner of the MTN Business App. That's for the year of 2020 in the best youth app category, and speaking to us as part of our partnership right here as Power 98.7 with Power Business and MTN. It's SME Tuesday.
You've been listening to a Power 98.7 podcast. For more podcasts, visit power987.co.za or subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.